Welcome to the Being Human podcast, raising awareness of human beings through conscious questions about being human.
Hello, I am Frank Emanuel. Welcome to Being Human. The episode today is on the limits of the mind. And joining me today are
Adam Hubbard
and
Lauren Johnson.
And I guess going along with the limits of the mind, we also are going to have to talk about things that can potentially expand the mind. I guess to get started, we have to kind of discuss what we think is limited as far as, the mind. What do you consider a limited mind to be?
Do we need to qualify ourselves here, or is being human enough? So what limits the mind?
Yes.
Mind.
What is a limited mind?
What is a limited mind? Lauren, do you want to...
Just a feeling of I can't, or I'll fail, or I won't succeed. By having that thought or that belief, you are limiting your mind to move forward, to move past that barrier.
That could be one limit, I believe.
Beliefs can be limiting, yes. And they can also be empowering, depending on the belief, which this was last week's topic. But what limits the mind? Ourselves, and what container we put ourselves in. Thoughts, really, at the end of the day, what we think of ourselves and the world based off an innumerable amount of things, which I'm sure we'll touch on. But what we think is possible. I guess what we think is not possible. They go hand in hand. A limited mind is I would say, a fearful mind.
Right. But say, what if you're not living in fear? That if a mind becomes too stagnant or too routine, then that could be limiting itself.
Yeah.
Because there's no room for change or growth.
We're just not seeking.
And where do those patterns come from? Typically what was done before us. So we're deciding what our limits are based off what someone else has decided for us, who came before us. I don't know if that's done out of fear, or if that's done out of ignorance, or if that's done out of
conditioning, maybe?
What at what point do you decide to be conditioned?
It's like a dog, though. We get trained
right
to be a certain way, and sometimes you just never look outside of that box to be differently.
I just had a conversation with a student as I was leaving work, and I told her that we shouldn't be telling children that they're failing. There should be no failure for a child, because they are a child, which means they're still growing. So by telling the child that they fail, you're halting them and creating that fearful barrier.
Yeah, a limit.
Right. So we're conditioning them to hear that word their whole life, failure.
I think really the only way out of conditioning that is limiting. Some conditioning, someone may be conditioned to be very self-expressive, to be self-aware. I think most of the time that's not the case, especially in our current culture.
I think they're very self-aware.
I think they're aware of their surroundings and how to manipulate it. I don't know the students, I don't want to do that. But, people in general, myself included. This has been a journey for me, getting out of a conditioning that was not only limiting, but destructive. And why? I try to put myself back in a place and time to where I was behaving based off those conditioning skills or setbacks that I learned along the way. And the best thing I've come up with is just being aware that it's happening. And then the more aware you are it's happening, you see it come before it happens.
Right.
And then you're able to condition yourself. But then, is that a new limit you placed on yourself? I
don't think awareness is a limit, though. That would probably be the opposite.
Right.
I find, because I have two young kids, that they're less conditioned than adults are, to see things from a different perspective.
Right. But they're able to absorb it way easier.
But they're still conditioned.
I think we look for patterns. By nature. I think that's helped us evolve and survive. So patterns have always been, and still remain, a good thing. If you see something that's not serving you or not, good for you, you tend to learn from that and pattern yourself appropriately. Or if something is good for you, you go towards it. And you're patting,
Miss Pitty Pat.
pat. Pa.
But then the question is,
I just got speaking in tongues.
the question is whether or not the current model provided to us by society is really what's best for us as humans.
We don't know.
Yeah, how could it possibly? How could there be one blanket approach to life?
It can't be.
Well, I mean, there's the majority, which is the one that's provided by the media, and
Which have their motives.
But do we know that that's the majority just because it's on the media?
no, that's true. I shouldn't make that assumption.
It feels that way, though.
That's the guide, but
It feels
most
that
people
way.
don't follow the guide.
And it feels, they're certainly profiting from aspects of it. They wouldn't continue to if they weren't. But I think back to what Frank said, awareness is the key. And then you could, whether you make the right decisions from that point on is, to be decided, but at least they're your decisions and your choices. And granted, they're probably still based off things you've already experienced, people you've come across. But you can be aware of that.
But
more.
for example, when I was younger and you and Garrett would tease me about eating a hamburger.
Lauren's my sister,
and
by the way.
telling me that a hamburger was a cow, I thought you were just messing with me. I didn't believe you.
I told you a lot of things I shouldn't have said.
But I was
that a good
conditioned
thing, I suppose.
to eat them because
Yeah.
we were conditioned to believe that they're good for you, and now they make me sick.
I remember we went to Catholic school, and I hope I don't offend any Catholics here, but
This is just your perspective.
This is just my perspective. I remember, I don't know if you remember this, I remember
I don't remember much.
learning in school about reward consequence. You do well, you're going to heaven. You do poorly, bad, you break these list of rules, you're going the other way. And as a child, I don't know why, I became aware of what was going on. So I'd come home and use those same practices on you, or Garrett. And if I wanted my room cleaned or wanted something done, I'd say, the devil's watching. If you don't if this doesn't get done, someone's going to pay, and it's not going to be me. How sick is that? That's what I learned as a child. What was happening to me? I was being conditioned. Again, a lot of beautiful things out of aspects of religion. Beautiful, I think, stories and metaphors to use to guide us. And I don't have anything wrong against belief in a God, whatever that God is for you. But as a child, I was more, I think, aware of what was happening and
Right.
saying, "Oh, well, that's working, so maybe I can try that."
You just tried to take those concepts and
they-
apply them to
Yeah.
life as a child.
See, they wanted me to just do as I heard, but I heard what they were doing, and I said, "Oh, well, that's working." Instead of me just following the rules, I looked at.
So instead of do as they say,
Is that how it is? Yeah.
you were doing as they were doing.
Correct. Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, this doesn't make sense.
I was a pretty smart kid.
We went to public school, and I started asking my teacher, why we don't talk about Jesus here.
Yeah. That was a
Because-
strange transition going through.
Because
into
people have different beliefs. I was like, whoa, that's a game changer.
Yeah, there's more out there. That really actually piqued my interest when I found out there was more. It wasn't just, I learned
So options,
there were options.
opposite of limits.
Right, and that comes with just being open-minded to not having like one strong belief that you don't want to listen to anyone else's.
Or one strict mindset on the way things should be.
Because everybody's in this journey of life together. Everybody wants to live the right way. So
Right.
people gravitate toward belief that resonates with them. So for one person to say, this is what I believe, and I'm not going to listen to you, it's ignorant, because then you're not listening to the human side of this other person
Yeah.
who's lived.
And and a lot of times they've been trained that way. They've seen other they're doing as their parents did, or their teachers did, or as they were told to do. But it's I don't know. It's definitely exciting when you realize you have different options. There's different ways of thinking. It's.
Have you ever had a teacher tell you that you shouldn't believe what they say?
I have.
That's
Those are my favorite teachers.
those are the thought-provoking teachers. Yeah.
They come out and they say, first class, I want everyone to know I have no idea what I'm talking about. I need you to discern what you think is appropriate, correct, or true, and we'll discuss it. Mm-hmm. You know, that space to discuss, it's I think it's necessary. And a lot of times in this culture, it's not encouraged, because free thinking, you know, can disrupt the status quo.
So for a teacher to be expanding their mind,
it's powerful.
Really, it helps the students in that class.
Someone you respect in a position of authority, who you're so used to telling you how and what to do it, or what and how to do it, to now say, "Will you tell me?" And then you're like, I love those classes. Some kids were just like, I don't know. No, those are my favorite, because you just got to play with your mind.
And a classroom is just like a snapshot of our population. It is a perfect sample of what is out there.
So we've talked about some of the limits, meaning someone stuck in repeating patterns. That goes on so many dimensions too.
It's endless.
Thought patterns.
I mean, from
to
how you wipe your ass.
Physical patterns.
Yeah, like patterns in life,
Nature.
patterns in.
I think we look for patterns.
Yeah.
And
cycles.
And it's interesting. It provided us a way to evolve and survive, and still does. But it's also limiting.
Right.
And I guess that's our. You know, we're classified as Homo sapiens sapiens, those who think and know they are thinking. A lot of times the last sapien's been atrophied over time. But that part right there, and you know, that's where the next evolution is, of the mind, of being aware of these patterns.
And our abilities.
And our abilities to not only create new patterns, but to just to be open and receptive.
Yes.
And knowing that, okay, we're not going to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. We're not, that's not happening anymore. We're safe.
So
for
now
the most
what?
part. So now what? Exactly. Good question.
Now what? What are our limits?
It's ourselves. We're our own limit.
Yeah.
That can go on and on, that conversation. Which I'm sure
I think the
we'll
mind
get
is very powerful, and if you allow your mind to think something, it will be true. You'll make it your truth for yourself, and then you'll move on eventually.
So much of the limiting is it's all mental. It's not as much what you do physically, but the way you think about things.
Physical can you can limit yourself physically from your mind,
right.
Literally, or vice versa. Some physicality can or some setback you have physically could. That happened with me recently. Going to the hospital with an issue with my heart that I had, but didn't know I had. But once I knew I had it,
it became debilitating.
Suffocating anxiety. I've talked with Frank and Lauren too. I was not me. I could no longer interact with the world the way I wanted to, the way I decided to. So what actually started helping me was becoming more aware of that anxiety, not running from it, not going to grab a drink or not going to, sleep all day, but actually going towards it and feeling every physical and mental aspect of it, every little idiosyncrasy that affected me, dive into it. And the more aware I became of it, the more I could feel it come before it did. And in that process, I actually became thankful for it. I became filled with joy that I did have this obstacle, because that now became the new way of my life. It pushed me to meditate more, to do things that allowed myself to be more self-aware. So went from being poor me, oh no, what do I do? I may die, which is scary.
So that definitely disrupted your pattern.
It disrupted my pattern. It disrupted that pattern strongly. But from feeling a fear of death brought me a joy of life. Like, thank God I'm here. Again,
right.
Whatever God is, but being thankful. And I just saw something the other day. Happy people aren't thankful. Thankful people are happy. It's extremely true. It's mind over matter. So the anxiety since then has pretty much washed away. And Frank and I went to a meditation recently, and one of the meditating techniques was to provide compassion for others. So I was taking, compassion that does exist in me, and willfully and graciously and without anything expected back to me, giving it. And that when it just took the focus off my insecurities or my fears or my limits, and just gave other people limitless compassion, it washed away.
And again, that works for you, and everybody
that
has their own
me.
truth. And so I had the experience with Jet driving in a car with another adult, and
Jet's our son.
Made me nervous. He's 3. He's out in the world without me. So I was overcome with anxiety, and I couldn't focus on what I was supposed to be doing, which was grocery shopping. And I was like, okay, I have to just wash this, because of course I don't want anything to happen to him, but if I keep thinking about it, that's not going to change the current situation. It's not going to predict or prevent the future by worrying. So I said, I have to just distract myself. I got to do the grocery shopping. And by distracting myself, I was relinquished from anxiety.
You weren't distracted. You were actually in the moment.
Right.
You were let go of the distraction.
True.
That's all and that's another thing that meditation provides. And I'm kind of prophecy. What's the word? I'm losing my vocabulary. I was pushing the meditation, but it works. And
that was another.
But it's coming in the moment.
Right. She had another hiccup in her pattern of existence. So maybe disrupting the patterns should be welcome.
I say go for it. I say if you're afraid of something, go towards it, not away from it. If we are patterned to, again, based off evolution and survival, we needed it then, but we really don't need it now. When something you're fearful of, obviously I'm afraid of someone pointing a gun at me.
Right.
I'm not going to walk towards the gun.
Or a fire, you're not going
have
to
some
jump in the
discernment.
fire.
Right. But when it's something in your mind that you're creating and you're aware that you're creating, it's not actual a physical threat.
Our threats have changed.
Go towards it. Absolutely go towards it. It's life changing. It's you figure out how to look at things you're afraid of from a different perspective. Instead of being fearful and running from it, you become thankful and go towards it, and it becomes the way. The obstacle becomes the way, and you go on a different path. But I think the change is what's scary. Changing the pattern, changing the path.
Yes.
But how boring to stay on the same path your whole life. So much to experience, so much to see and learn and grow. And I think changing your patterns, changing your path, simple as putting your cups in a different cupboard.
I rearrange my living room and my bedroom all of the time.
You do.
You come in, I got a new house.
I call
Check
her
me
when
out.
I want to rehang pictures or do something. I know, what are you doing?
Call me up. I got
That's good.
some
That's
organizing
the premise,
skills.
probably, for many of the movies nowadays.
Yeah.
That somebody is stuck in a pattern, same thing, over and over again, and then something, huge happens, and then that's the story of the movie.
And they have to address it. And if there was no conflict, there'd be no story.
Right.
And that's true for life. If there's no issue or conflict or problem, what would you do? Right. And you have to go towards it, because then now that's your new life. You have a new perspective and a new path. And it's not bad. I would say, change for the sake of change, you becoming attached to that is, another pattern. That, again, I think it should be done mindfully and with purpose, and for the purpose of growth and to learn and to gain something from it. But yeah, in this culture, like you said, we're conditioned otherwise, whether through media or, education or whatever. But I think it's wildly, wildly important.
I asked my son what he learned at school the other day, and he said, "Oh, nothing." And I was like, "Well, you're talking about Hawaii this week. You watched some videos. What were the videos about?" "Oh, lava overflowing and running on the roads." I was like, "Well, there you go. You learned something." He goes, "No, I didn't." "Well, have you ever seen that before? Have you ever seen lava running on a road?" Just by witnessing it and seeing it, you have absorbed that, into your
Wasn't there before.
brain. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't there.
What does he think
We've learned a
learning
new
is?
image.
What does he consider learning?
I suppose letters,
Like,
numbers,
yeah, more
Something.
everything, more of the same
structured
thing.
concepts.
right, which we're conditioned to think is what's
Learning.
learning and important.
Well, that's the other thing I had written down. Like, is education limiting to the mind?
Oh, absolutely.
Or
Oh, don't even get me started on
oh, it's coming
education.
from a teacher.
yeah, she's got the
Two
best
teachers.
perspective.
Absolutely, it's limiting.
Well, I mean, you're giving people concepts, and
We're telling children what it is important to know.
right.
And a lot of that's
if-
based off the economy.
if it's a
and,
list-
things we need to, or that we'd like to see happen. So now math is good. Now math,
Right.
or what else are they pushing? Math. It's
And
math.
it's not even just math. It's here's a list of topics.
Concepts.
Those are what they need this year. Next year it'll change. And just like it was changed last year.
And if
It
they don't
changes
reach
every
those
year.
standards, like you said, they
They're
are a failure. But they may be the most beautiful poet you've ever met, or can create. I think
A
the
painter.
creativity is lacking, which is being receptive and open minded and looking outside of the pattern.
That's why I feel like I have two classrooms. I have math and then I have thought.
I love that you do that. She invited me to her class, the Great American
hilarious.
Teacher, and it was fun. I was freaking out. I'm like, they're just kids. What are like I'm like sweating, and I mean, and that's what the lesson was about. When you're
Right.
afraid of something, go towards it. I was freaking out. Like, why? I think it's something, from eyes on you. I said,
All of them.
and I think I said that. I said, if this was 20 squirrels looking at me, I'd be freaked out. I think there's something like innate about the eyes. And I did the stand-up comedy. You were there for the first time. That was a fear I had. I'm petrified. People think I like doing these things. I'm scared, but when I do it, I feel incredible. I feel some growth. But those eyes.
And I've actually taken your advice on that one. Like, if you're so fearful, then you just need to do it. You need to just get
You
more
have to.
experience
I think it's your body telling
doing
you.
it. And then
to do
you
it.
said that by standing in front of people and getting that rush, and it's so invigorating. And I was like, oh no, I can't handle it.
But I don't do it
stresses
for the
me out.
rush. I do it
But now I enjoy
in
it.
spite of the rush.
So
yeah.
you would say
more
that the red flag of fear is showing that your mind's being limited.
right.
That
Yeah.
you need to kind of run towards that.
And by
And again-
running towards it, you are proving to yourself that you can grow.
Right.
We're not talking about obvious fears. Like,
These are when, but again, the first step is awareness
right.
of what you're afraid of.
And why?
Yeah. Then okay, if it's something obviously not physically
Not something that's
attacking you,
Yeah,
and
hurt you or
absolutely-
kill
right.
you or
And then you can once you address it's in your mind, and then most people will agree public speaking is a fear in their mind, but they won't do it and they're petrified of it. And it's the number one fear, I think, above everything. But I think I don't know. I think it's your. I've changed that from a warning system to avoid. Okay, this, that, or the other to a warning system to engage. Mm-hmm. And the more I've done it, I mean, even the thing with my heart. The only reason I went in to get these tests done is because I had issues as a younger man. And I wanted to start doing, some things I'm afraid of. I wanted to go skydiving. I wanted to, do a bunch of roller coasters, which I've never really had the opportunity to. I'm like, well, I better get checked out. Better make sure everything's okay. And my good friend's like, no, it's fine. You don't need to do that. I'm like, yeah, I better check. I'm glad I did. But it pushed me towards that. And then now it's pushing me towards my meditation practice more. And I feel like a different person. When this happened when I was younger, I resorted to alcohol and drugs for a decade almost. I mean, a large part of my life just sedated and not really embracing why. Just think, yeah, it's fun, or this is what everyone else is doing. But as more recently, I've realized it was because of that.
Right.
And now that I don't drink, I try to be very healthy and physically and keep my mind clear.
And also, someone couldn't have told you that. If I told you that.
Who would coach me on that?
Right.
I mean, someone who went through it, but the things I was going through, people 10 years before me didn't live through.
Or I did.
No, I mean.
Oh, you mean the procedure?
Where the actual things I went through, right? But it doesn't matter if it's that or anything that causes anxiety.
But it's something that you have to figure out on your own. You have to realize that is the reason why your behavior has been this way.
It was wonderful. I was sitting on the dock, feet in the water, freaking out, just trying to meditate, and then just washed over me. This is my test. this is my fear, and it's been most of my life. I've dealt with this since I was born, pretty much, but this has been my underlying fear my entire life, and I've been preaching and telling people, go towards your fear, this, your students.
Right.
This is my test, my ultimate test, I felt like. And I felt, in that moment, so thankful for it. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Just so happy I had the opportunity to test what I've been preaching about, what I in smaller instances was working. Now it's something really big and scary in my mind. And
it's right at your doorstep.
right there, right in my chest,
right.
and it's, God, I'm so happy it happened. I'm actually happy it happened. And to have that switch in just a matter of days, I mean, it happens in an instant. And then the second it happened, I jumped in my car. I was just like wind in my hair, and I was feeling good. And that song, "Don't Worry, Be
Don't Worry, Be Happy."
Came on. I started crying. Grown man singing reggae in the car, crying. I mean, that guy's had too much to smoke. But it was powerful, and all of that took place in my head.
Yeah.
The limits came down, the opportunities and expansiveness opened up. And it was amazing. It was amazing.
Well, besides the patterns and somewhat being closed-minded, what other limits are there? I had taken a note of ego and instincts being somewhat limiting. Judgment.
I'm shaking my head now.
Attachment,
Yeah.
You can live your whole life with judgment and attachment, and never look outside of that. I mean, it makes for a pretty bitter life. It's just this resistance towards acceptance, which would help expand the mind.
And a lot of that's based off, again, conditioning. We can attest to that. We've had some anxious people in our family. And
the I can do no wrong mentality.
And that as well. But always with the I. And I think that does go back to the ego. It's all starts right here with me, myself, and I. And what has been done to me, what might happen to me.
I had two friends. We were group messaging, just text messaging. And we were sitting next to each other because that's what we do. Mm-hmm. And so...
While you were texting?
While we were texting.
That's healthy.
Another individual that wasn't there. So there were three of us. Two of us are sitting next to each other.
It's like, wow.
You're like, that's not limiting.
Right, yeah.
But so we glanced at each other's phone. It's the same group text, but because of where the bubbles go on the iPhone, I'm using as my platform of communication. So if you look at the two different phones, same conversation, different perspectives. Just because the bubbles were in a different spot and because they were a different color, it took us probably 45 seconds to attest that it was the same conversation. It looked like different conversations. We were like, oh, well, that's not it. Oh, wait, yeah, it is. Wait, no, it's not. Back and forth for a while till we realized it was the same exact conversation, but just rearranged.
It's all perspective. Huh?
It was intense.
Speaking of patterns,
Right.
Just in a loop, literally.
And perspective can be distorted because it's singular.
Because it's
just your
part of it's you, and other parts are not you.
Especially if you're not trying to see the whole picture,
right?
And you're just looking at.
And you're certainly not if you think seeing the world is in existence through your own eyes. I mean, granted, that's all we have to go by, but we do have the ability to empathize, and I think that's something. I mean, that's something. Literally in our brain, an energy that, if I walked in the room and you guys say we're just arguing, I walked in, I had no idea. I think without even looking at you, I'd feel it. I mean, I think our mind does provide energy to the world. I mean, we are energy. I mean, literally energy, balls of energy walking around. We just see each other as just skin and bones and flesh through these own five senses and in certain amount of the color spectrum that we can see.
But we all still perceive things differently based off on our conditioning.
Yeah.
We all get in the car in the morning, drive to work. Some people notice how beautiful the clouds and the sky look, and
Some people
They
get
see
road rage.
Right, they see a bunch of cars on the road and they go, "Oh, everybody's sitting in the car and they're ready to go to work."
I don't do that anymore.
You know, you could still sit in your car and
I just
just
don't
be
drive.
accepting. Oh, we're all going the same way. That's cool.
Yeah.
But then some people get in the car and they just, you know, have
Yeah.
a completely different
I
perspective.
hate driving. I just hate it.
I don't mind it. Jet, we were sitting in traffic yesterday on the way home from Jacksonville, and there was, you know, we were moving, but we were surrounded by vehicles, and Jet, my son, told me to honk. You should honk, Mom. And I was like,
What?
why? There's no one's doing anything. I'm only going to honk if I'm in danger. Are we in danger right now? And he's like, no. At soccer, they said if there's traffic, you should honk.
Who said that? The coach?
The coach. And, you know, it's just a game, but now in his mind, if you see traffic, you should honk.
I keep an eye on that coach.
Get out of my way.
Get out of my way.
And I'm like, we're not in danger. You don't need to honk.
But even on the road, like, even if someone hadn't flicked you off or honked at you, it feels tense. I mean, that could just be me.
Yeah, it
But
might
it
be.
just, I mean, I don't know. I feel tension around me. Other people zipping and zagging and in such a rush.
Sounds like you have a limit.
Maybe you can sense their energy.
I feel like I sense their energy, Lauren. I think I'm very intuitive.
Wow.
I think
I don't feel that
I
way.
think it's like the opposite is true. But well, like Frank says, anytime I feel that happen, like that was a couple days ago. I was going out towards the beaches and it was packed, and it was around sunset, and I just saw the sunset all of a sudden. This guy's up my ass. This person is over here, you know, smoking with their kid in the car. This person's
Right.
over here, you know, just things that can aggravate you. And I just looked at the sunset. I mean, I kept one eye on the road, and I just felt at peace. And then I felt bad for anyone else who didn't get to see it. I mean, you just passed something beautiful,
Right.
you know. And
I see that every day.
but now I look for it.
The
you know?
birds, the wildlife while you're driving. I mean,
And
Birds
that's
chirping.
the filter.
Some people can't stand when birds chirp. And I think it's awesome.
There was a point in my life I wanted it if I was up late and the sun was coming out and the birds were chirping, and there's the worst sound in the world.
I love
There's
being woken up
lots
by
of
the
birds
birds.
around.
I'd look for the BB gun, and
Oh, no.
again, that was an unhealthy time.
But they have their perspective. They're chirping for a reason.
They seemed happy.
Even
in
if
my
when you're
mind,
still
they were
sleeping.
doing it to me.
As an example, like, I think it was last night. We have chickens in our backyard. And
Yeah, we do too.
Yeah.
5 a.m, one of them started clucking. They do this thing where they get in a rhythm, kind of like a drum beat. One will start, and they'll start their rhythm, and then another one will chime in. So it's ba 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 ba.
You should record it.
ba,
And do a
and
little
then you get
mixtape.
3 of them, and then 4 of them, and they all started going at 5 a.m.
Wow.
And yeah,
You know, Frank also did.
we
Tell her what you did.
no, I was. I talked to my partner.
He's
I
fucking
said,
with these chickens.
I said, if I get up, I'm not going to go back to sleep because that's how I am. If I wake up, then
Yeah.
I can't go back to sleep. And she said, "Oh, I'll go take care of it." And she had to interrupt their pattern to kind of expand their mind. She opened the door and said, "Hey!"
I should have came out and said, "Go towards your fear."
As soon as she said, "Hey, stop that!" They were quiet. They were
Yeah.
silent. They
We
went
just
back
got
to
into
sleep.
their routine. Well, then you brought out a mirror.
Oh,
Yeah.
this was a
Very
whole
nice.
other thing. The other day, I accidentally cracked a mirror that was behind my son's door. You know, it just fell, and I was bringing it outside to go put it in the dumpster in the backyard or out in the back alley, and I'm like, well, let me see, because the chickens were out. I said, well, I didn't know how they would react if they saw themselves, and they did not like that. They did not like looking at themselves.
Competition.
Isn't that a metaphor? Look at yourself.
I wonder.
Look
what,
within. They ran.
Maybe that's our problem. We look at ourselves too much.
We don't really look deep with it
We look at our
I don't think
fleshy
we were
material.
meant to look at ourselves.
because one of the chickens, as soon as she saw herself, she ran right back in the coop. She was
wow.
all upset.
She's like, I'm not ready to see for people to see me like this.
But I don't torture them. It was, yeah.
Torture.
If they liked it, I would have left the mirror out.
I told you I saw something.
Because some birds do. I had a lovebird that loved the
Oh,
mirror.
yeah, I remember that. They had something on National Geographic, some channel, and it was the primates. I think it was gorillas, mountain gorillas, and they put a big like plexiglass mirror that couldn't break because they pounded the hell out of it.
I remember. I think I did see that.
But eventually, they just like sat. They would do things like put a hand up, and it seemed like they were aware of what was happening. That they were aware that they were there. You know.
My bird just like would nuzzle up to the mirror and cuddle with it. She was in love with herself.
Oh.
My lovebird. She didn't love me.
We kind of talked on some of these things that I wrote down already, but the way society could limit the mind. Do you think social classes plays any part in that with having a limited mind?
I think that social class limits your perspective.
Oh.
So you can't create the situations that exist in people's lives.
But couldn't someone potentially still be aware?
Not if they don't see it. If you can't think about it and create it based on never seeing it before, then you don't have the ability to think about it.
But is that based on a mental capacity or how much money you make?
I think that has to do with not having that image. Like I said with the volcano, if you don't have that image, you haven't learned that exists in the world. So as soon as you see it or hear it from some other's perspective, some other person's point
Or
of
more
view.
importantly, feel it. I mean, we have to see
Well,
images
you'll have
of
a
other
feeling
people.
no matter what
Yeah,
about
there you
it.
go.
But if you don't see that it's actually happening somewhere, you won't know that it exists because it hasn't happened to you.
Yeah, I mean,
And
we
I
do
witness
see
that all the time.
we
as
see
a
images
teacher.
on images, whether whatever media you consume.
Right. But you can't make up real life problems.
But I mean, you have to feel it. Like I could see someone who's dying of starvation, and I say, "Oh," but you put me over there and actually breathe the air, hear the sounds, really feel it.
Right.
It's a different situation.
Right.
But
But starvation is something that all of us knows that it's a possibility because we know we have to eat. And if we don't eat, we starve. You can create that in your own mind.
we know it exists, but I don't think people know it's a possibility for them. Society's hanging on by it, and people don't realize how fragile it is. I mean, it is a possibility for anyone if something happens.
Right.
But
Our perspective on it isn't there. We don't know how it feels.
Right.
People say all the time, "Oh, I'm starving."
But they don't really know what that means.
No, you're not
I
starving.
don't even think they're
They don't
hungry.
know that.
Do you mean you're
Have
not,
some water.
You're just not full right now? Is that what you're saying?
I haven't eaten in an hour.
I feel like by being categorized, or as you can say categorized, being in a social class, whatever it may be, it is very difficult to create in your mind the situations that exist in the real world. For example, I was driving through, Ponte Vedra Beach, right on the East Coast, just south of Jacksonville, and I couldn't have created those images in my mind.
Is it a nice place? Or
The homes were immaculate.
Yeah.
They're huge, on the ocean with sand dunes. There's a huge dune going up to the house and then a huge dune going down to the beach. Can't create those images.
now, do you see that as an option for you to a place and a way for you to live?
I don't think I would want to.
But if someone is in those homes, does that necessarily mean that their mind's expanded? Not. It might just be their pocketbook. They might still have a very limited mind.
Well, I'm saying my mind was limited because I couldn't have created those images.
I think that's where it comes down to belief. I mean, if I'm poor and you see wealthy images all the time in media, but you don't have. But if you have belief that you can have that, I mean, truly that it's within your possibility.
I think
Then it is. But and the same thing the opposite way. If you're well off and you truly believe that it's quite possible that either you could have been born in that circumstance of being poor, or that could potentially happen to you at any moment, for whatever reason. But that we're actually not that far apart. We're it's the thin line between the two, and it can be circumstance, it can be whatever. But believing it's possible, and then allowing yourself to empathize.
Well, I think the point that comes before believing it's possible is knowing your possibilities. Because to me, that wasn't even a possibility because I had never seen it before.
Well, knowing your possibilities is how much you believe in yourself.
So that's the exposure that
If
you
you
get
believe in
from
yourself,
social class.
In just a little bit, your possibilities are limited. If you believe in yourself, in your ability, or your dream, or your goal, whatever it is, exponentially more, then your possibilities are exponentially more. So I think it goes back to perception. What
Right.
you perceive as possible based off what you believe you're capable of.
Right.
And when does that come from? Again, that goes back to conditioning or messages you receive, or I don't know. You might have one person in a family that very, very poor. Two siblings. One may know and believe something's quite possible, and the other person not. And they grew up in the same environment. Is part of that innate? That ability to open your mind to possibilities. Some wiring in the brain, or is that just maybe you never know what sparks someone's ability to grow. It could be just a word, it could be just a moment,
Right.
a picture, and something in their mind says, "I can do that." And how do we get more people to do that? If that's the goal.
I think seeing things in real life makes a difference too, because I can see images of beautiful homes on TV. I used to watch cribs on TV, and I know it's out there, but to see it in real life, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Then you actually
yeah,
have to believe it. It's right in front of your face. So if you are a person that's stuck, like you live in a 5-mile radius of your home your whole life, you don't have the exposure to things and images that allow your brain to grow, to allow you to see the possibilities in life, and to allow you to have the thought of, oh, I can get that if I want it.
If that's
Because
even the goal,
You've got all these barriers.
That's what we're conditioned to think. This is the
Well,
goal.
right.
So going up the social ladder, the socioeconomic ladder is the goal. In actuality,
Well, it's not necessarily the goal. Your goal is to figure out, have a dream, create a dream. So
that's
you
what
need
most
to know
people
what your
are conditioned
options
to.
are.
That is the
That's
goal, to get rich, to have, to
that's
accumulate
perspective.
in this culture. Based off, like what Frank said earlier, what he thinks and what I think and the media pushes on us. But that goes to consumerism and capitalism and
Right.
yada, yada, yada. But
I
for
think-
me, lately, it went from achievement and gaining recognition, which I think is based in the ego, to gaining, I hate to use this word, but enlightenment or awakening myself to the possibilities of myself.
Right.
And not necessarily what I can attain, but how open my mind can become. And that's been a real powerful flip lately.
Absolutely.
That's
my goal now.
Yeah.
And it's because then you realize even the fancy house and the fancy cars or whatever it may be is someone else's dream.
Even if you can't have it, sometimes I find myself thinking now, yeah, I could have that. But
I wouldn't even want it because that's another attachment that weighs
Right.
on my mind and my body. Because it weighs on my mind, it was weighing on my body.
Yeah,
And,
sure. I
I've
could go get
learned that lately.
I could go get a new car or a house or buy something, but I found myself in the last year or so letting go of more things that really
Well, they were limiting
right.
because
You don't need them.
Say I spent a lifetime getting all that, and now I have $10 million and I have all this recognition and achievement, and I'm still just
Then what
following
are you
my
doing?
right. Then
and now you're
what? Now
60
That's
years
right.
old and most of your life is gone.
That's what I've been focusing on more lately is what am I able to do? What can I do? Because in school you always hear, what's your goal? What's your dream? Well, I never had a dream. I never created the dream. I think creating the dream is the biggest obstacle.
And that's
And
about
if you can't
experiencing that.
see what it looks like, if you can't hold it and it absorb you, then you don't know what you're working for.
And a lot of times it's not the dream that really means anything. It's the journey to that dream where you really get your growth.
That's the best part.
Right. That's life.
Right. That is life. And again, that's something that's pushed in our culture. Get to the goal, get to the objective, which is important if it's important for you. But
it feels so much better to just enjoy the journey and not have a goal.
Enjoy the journey.
Well, if you think about it, if you're a writer, for instance,
right.
by experiencing your journey, you are creating more work. You are doing what you want to do, which is writing. So there is no end result or end goal. You're doing it. That's what you want to do. You want to write. Or if you're a painter, that's the process.
Where this podcast was born from.
Yeah.
I started writing, and
things just happen.
Right.
You become.
You get
What
creative.
you are meant. I don't know if I should say meant to, but you become what you become. I mean,
that's better.
It's that just sounds so abstract to say, but it's. I think goals are important though, because then that now you've picked what type of journey you're having. We're going to have a journey either way, but if there is something that you're looking down the road towards, then the journey is going in a specific direction. I don't know if that's good or not, but it depends on what the goal is. Like for me, my goal has went from how much money I can make, how much, like I said, recognition. These were all based on my ego. What are people going to think of Adam Hubbard? What is his legacy going to be? What is he going to do to change the world?
Well, maybe that was what you were saying about yourself.
Or maybe that was something that you were conditioned to believe.
Oh, yeah. yeah, and I did. Dad would, he'd ask every night or every day, how'd you change the world today? My dad, I just went to school. And what did you do? And but he meant well. And
he wanted you to think.
But really, what I've learned is it's like, not how am I? It actually became the answer, but not how do I change the world, but how do I change myself into something
good for
that's worthwhile for the world.
Right.
Working for the world. That changes the world, by example. It doesn't start from the top down, it starts from the bottom up.
Right.
And for me, what goal is, if I have to pick a goal that's attached to that, it's opening my mind and being as receptive to the world as I possibly can. And understanding this experience and taking down everything that's been conditioned for me and building up what I decide to be important patterns, because I'm going to have patterns.
Right.
What can bring me closer to feeling connected to everything,
right,
is really what it's been coming down to for me.
So
I think belief is still helpful. Like I said, whether it's a goal or belief, I think it's helpful because it sets you on a course that in the direction you want to go. And like for me, it's seeking an awareness and enlightenment. I believe that we're all connected. I'm starting to believe more and more that we
feed off of each
life
other.
is connected. That life is, whether it's there's a consciousness that we're all connected to, but I feel less and less separate the more I go down that path, and that feels good.
There's a question at the end of every school year. We're coming close to the end of the school year right now, and there's always this question about the majority of students and what are they going to do with their life, because heaven forbid they don't go to college, because it always seems to be the goal. If you go to high school, the next goal is college. And that's just not true for everybody. You can't just send an entire population of people to college, because then who would be doing all of the work for the rest of society? That
you don't always need a college degree either.
Right.
Well, of course not.
For things you want to do. I don't know. I've become enlightened. I'm not. I don't need a college degree for that. Actually, it wouldn't help, I don't think.
I don't worry about them. I'm like, they're going to do something. Their paths don't just end. Nobody's path just stops. They will figure it out. They'll go get a job somewhere. They'll maybe take some classes, maybe not. They'll just do life. You just do what you can do, and you create your own path. It doesn't have to be this picture perfect, strategic, planned out list.
No, it does help to have
structure, of course, but
not the structure, but structure, I suppose. But it does, like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to start from scratch. Like for me, this journey of self-awareness and expanding my consciousness and connecting with others, someone's found a way to do that, and practices to subscribe to that work. Whether it's the Buddha, who provided ways to meditate from 20 600 years ago, or
Jesus.
or Jesus, or anyone, you know, or any spiritual person who's been on a spiritual path. You know, I haven't just said, I'm just going to go outside and put my hands in the air and start being more aware. Like I had to find someone who had done it before me, but that doesn't necessarily have to be in a college setting,
Right,
with a professor
and
or, you know.
all of those people
A lot of times it's not.
had a journey. There's a journey that took place, and then they came back with their experiences and shared their experiences that they had on their journey. And that's all that we can do, is offer our experience to the next generation of people.
And not resist
As
that,
an example.
You know? If
You know,
someone,
it's like a map, but I mean, like I said, you plot a course, but you want to make sure you got the right map. And to every generation to take it a little further. As far as, you know, awareness is concerned and expanding the mind.
That's one thing I do like about education right now. I mean, there's a lot of bad things about it, like the failure. We're telling our children that they're failing at something. But high schoolers definitely are in tune to what they like and what they want to do. And I think that by allowing high schoolers to explore and do what they like, they're starting to already build their resume, whether it be for whatever path they choose. But by allowing them to have exposure and create and explore and just dive in. Don't wait until after high school or after college to do. Just start doing now.
And with the internet, it's made that quite possible. If you have a skill
Right.
or a desire to use that skill, you will find someone who can use your services, whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to connect with people who are on an enlightened path, you can find them.
Yeah, and like you said, we're all connected.
The internet is great. That, I mean, it's obviously been great for, you know, consumerism and applying limited beliefs to our minds, but it's been great in being able to connect others instantaneously. I mean, I really believe the evolution of the human race is going to be cognitive. It's not less physical than it has been in the past, and more. And that is, I think, very purposeful evolution. You know, we being aware of ourselves and wanting to connect to that awareness. But we are the universe experiencing itself.
Right.
That's it. And we're made up of everything that's in the universe, and everything in the universe is made of what we are. And so we are aware, and we're aware. So we have that special gift. It's such a gift.
Right.
it is.
I
And
mean,
speaking of the internet, it's like that place is limitless. So by not just typing a question in there, if you have a question about something, or if you want to see something, when my son asks me what this is, all I gotta do is pull out my phone and put it on YouTube, and he can see exactly what it is.
or what someone else has said it was.
Well, I mean, it could just be a picture. It could be just an image of, like, you know, he asks me all the time, like, Mom, what is a pot cake? Why? I don't know. So look it up. I don't know. It's
Like a pot.
Oh, a cake.
pot
It's a cake that
cake.
you make in like a ceramic pot,
Oh,
right?
like a marijuana.
No,
cake.
it's
No.
it's
3 years
actually,
old. What's going on
it's
here?
actually a dog. A pot cake is a dog that comes from, like, the Bahamas
What?
or
Oh,
Costa
Now we're
Rica.
both
That's
confused.
We were limited.
a stray dog. They call them pot cakes.
Pot cakes.
Yeah.
Sounds
I
like
don't know
something
why.
tasty.
Well, maybe that's what they're used for.
What country is this?
I don't know.
Okay.
Bahamas.
Okay. They're not eating them. But yeah, and I think, you know, when people have their path and they think it's the right way and they want to enforce that on other people. But, you know, we're just people. Like the most powerful people in the world shit their pants growing up, fell in love, got hurt. You know, we've all been through the exact same
Learn
things.
how to walk, learn how
They
to-
just have maybe more resources now, and you just go get resources, and then, you know, share the message that you want to share. But we're all the same, and we're all connected to the same thing. I mean, most of the universe is made up of stuff we can't even record yet. Dark energy and dark matter, though theoretical. I mean, I can't say it is, but you know, we're finding out so much. I mean, and I bring this up all the time. I love talking about it. That new theory is the multiverse. That there's not one universe. There's a multiverse, and
Right.
they can
Uni.
potentially
I
be
didn't even think
connected.
about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Uni being one.
and they can put
Oh,
well before,
high five.
you know, yeah. And you know, at one
That's
point the
the
sun
way they
revolved around
thought.
us.
It was
Yeah.
the one.
I love numbers.
universe.
But that we could be on a web of an infinite number of other universes connected through black holes, according to Stephen Hawking, potentially.
Well, infinity. That's the thing.
So many
Do you
layers of
believe
existence.
It's just
in
because it's
infinity?
continuing to expand.
So many layers that
Just-
are connected in every way, shape,
Maybe
and form.
they're being reflected.
I mean,
And you like to talk about how you can look outward
right.
and see it infinite, expansion.
And I can intellectualize it and think about it.
Right.
But it becomes powerful when I bring it in and feel
Right.
it.
It's
Right.
infinite.
Connecting to that connection.
Maybe everything is expanding.
I mean, we're swimming in a super radiation right now. We don't even see it. And energy's coming off of us and coming off you. And different people have different amounts of energy coming off. But I brought up that what I heard about was that I think it's Carillion photography, where they cut someone's arm off.
Mm-hmm.
And this type of photography can record the energy of a person. And amputees still had the energy of the image of where their arm and fingers were, but there was no arm and fingers there. But their brain was sending signals down, trying to reach it, and that's just, that's just electrical energy, and thoughts are energy, and a lot of this is theoretical, so I don't want to go too far into it.
Yeah, Dad. Our dad used to always want me to watch him fix his car.
Did he?
This is relevant. Yeah.
I'd hold the flashlight and get yelled at.
I got yelled at because I
That was my
didn't
job.
want to watch him fix his car.
Right.
Lauren,
That sounds-
curiosity is a sign of intelligence. So because I was not fixated,
You weren't
on
curious about what he was
doing, I was not improving my intelligence
curious why
by
you're so
not
curious.
expanding my horizons. It is true, though. If you're curious, then you have the ability to seek answers.
Right.
If you have questions, you have the ability to seek answers.
Promoting questions is another way of expanding the mind. Continuous questions. And some questions don't have answers. But it's good to ask them,
Absolutely.
because it makes you think. Or release thought, one or the other.
I think, exactly. I question my questions. It's constant. It can be maddening. It was at some point. Now it's actually
I find
quite
it
helpful.
very humorous. I love questioning my questions.
Well, it's everything, because then you're finding out what are your questions and what are the questions that have been provided for you.
And what questions can you stem off of questions?
And the best questions are the ones you can't answer.
Or
Yeah,
you
you
the
get
questions
to
that you
just-
can experience
Right.
and know an answer without having a word for it.
Like with, I've had experience with psychedelics, and that I
Would you
can't.
classify that as being expanding your mind? Or limiting your mind?
Absolutely. I mean, it breaks down the what is it? The psilocybin, I forget what transfers into psilocin, but it breaks down that blood-brain barrier. Whatever. In your, what is it called? Do you know what it's called? There's a barrier in your brain where it doesn't typically interact with each other unless you're in lucid dreaming, and lucid dreaming is really just a release of DMT from your pineal gland, and you can take DMT, but we'll get into that as maybe. But yeah, I've tried mushrooms. I've tried a few things, and they
How would you think that expanded your mind?
because I saw the I was supremely aware of what was constructed for me, and it just came crashing down, and I was just experiencing experience without judgment, without preconditioned thought. I felt everything. It's hard to. That's what I mean. It's hard to describe with words.
A
It's an
universal
intellectualized
perspective and feeling, connection.
connection. It brought me. I felt connected to the friggin' rock on the ground next to me. I felt connected to the air above. I felt connected to myself. I felt. It just breaks down the constructs.
And I have a fear of that.
Well, you can go. You
That's
should
why
go
I
towards it.
haven't.
You have my number.
I've always been fearful of that barrier being broken down because I was like, I can't delve into myself.
I was afraid too.
I know
it is
where
scary.
I go. I know what I'm capable of thinking, what I allow my brain to do without the influence. And I drive myself crazy, so I don't.
It's powerful.
I'm scared.
It's. I mean, anyone I know have done an experience, they always are thankful they did it and glad they did it, and there is a residual effect that lasts for months, sometimes, or forever, or the rest of your life. I mean, but
No, because you're getting shocked into this completely different perspective than you've ever seen things in your life before.
and removed
Right.
from the old one
You've got more
that was
exposure.
so important to you, and that had been so valuable to your understanding of the world is now bullshit, basically. And you know, it's not always that extreme. I mean, some people are more aware and they do it, and it just accentuates that. But it's amazing. It just takes away the limits.
That's why you're saying it can last a lifetime if you're
allowed to.
If you continue with that mindset, or it's very easy to get conditioned back to.
You can shut it off quick,
right?
You can just say that was ridiculous. I don't ever want to feel that again. Some people are very afraid and freak out during it because it's just too much to handle.
It's
but
too real.
You know, a lot of time, I wouldn't want to scare anyone away from it. I mean, I recommend it to anyone. The most dangerous drug is alcohol, followed by, you know, I think cocaine and methamphetamine, heroin, all down the list. I think the bottom two, as far as danger to yourself and others, is marijuana and psilocybin mushrooms.
Do you think marijuana expands your mind or limits it? I had this thought the other day that it almost seems like it might limit you a little bit and just make you think less, you know, bring you back to kind of a childlike state.
I don't know if it depends on the person and their state of mind. What Bob Marley said, he said, the herb reveals you to yourself. And I feel that's very true. Like I smoked a little herb last week because I was so anxious. I'm not a problem case, people.
You've overcome the problem.
Right. Well, it's helpful and it's medicinal. It really is. I mean, all of these things and a lot of, you know, the psilocybin and psychedelics we're using in research and are finally starting to come back. I mean, Bill W., who started AA, recommended it for alcoholics and went towards it. We had already been kind of away from the organization, right, and trying new things, and so they didn't, they didn't go down that path because they already had their structure set up. But I was anxious last week, and when I did smoke some, and I was flooded with more anxiety.
So it magnifies your current state.
It seemed to, you know, but when I'm you know, out maybe at the beach or I'm swimming down the river or at the springs and I do it, I feel completely at peace and one with nature and feeling incredibly relaxed. But I was relaxed going into it. So I think it's limiting if you're already in a limited state of mind. I think it's expansive if you're in an expansive state of mind. So I think it's a good way to gauge.
Right.
Where your mind is, you know, and I think you know, these things are plants. They grow. I mean, obviously you're not going to eat something that's poisonous that will kill you, but things that can assist you. I don't think you should do it all the time, but I think it's good to experience. Again, we're here to experience. Right. If it shouldn't be limited as long as it doesn't cause you harm. If it causes you harm, then you're limiting yourself because this is our vessel. You know, this is all we have to learn and grow in. But if it helps, I think, you know, go for it.
That's all life is, really, is experiencing through our senses.
Yeah. And even those are limited.
Right.
You know?
We can limit our senses with our minds.
Yeah.
You know, you might not smell things or definitely don't see things.
They don't.
When you're coming from a closed-minded point of view, then if you're kind of open-minded, you'll see and smell and hear things.
After I meditate, my senses are on fire. Everything. It's just like it's amazing. I think things might be brighter because I had my eyes closed the whole time. But I thought about that too. I'm like, is this good? But I hear things. I touch every moment and the more I do it, the longer that lasts.
Yeah, your energy is just radiating at that point.
Right. It's visceral. You certainly, you know, it's something that you can. I don't know. You feel like you're sharing it with everyone after I'm done. I recommend it to everyone. It can be quite maddening. It can be quite. You feel like you're going insane when you first start doing it because
are you waiting for it?
There's just so many thoughts and there's so many. It's constant. At least it was for me, constant flow of thoughts. I'm like, I can't turn this off. I'm like, well, that's not the goal to turn it off. It's actually just to be aware that they're happening. And okay, what kind of thought is this? This is an anxious thought, or this is a joyful thought. And just be aware of it. I noticed when my awareness was heightened of each thought, they simply just went away because I had now acknowledged it, which was what my mind wanted me to do. It's taught me something, showed me something. Okay, now I move on to the next thing. And that even goes to bodily sensations, which are actually tied to the thoughts.
Right.
I can now feel if I'm getting, if someone says something that's upset me, I feel it in my body before I know it in my mind. I can feel like maybe a tightness in my chest, or I notice in my jaw starts to clench a little bit. The muscles there get tight. Or if I have an anxious thought, I feel it around my eyes, like I'm trying to presume what's going to happen next. I
Like
can almost see
raising
it.
awareness.
But it's all raising the awareness.
Is raising your senses as well.
That's everything.
So by being aware of your thoughts, because your mind wants you to, are you appeasing your mind? Because it wants you to.
Well, when I'm aware of my
Address
thoughts,
those thoughts.
we typically think we are our thoughts. We're just these thinking machines that constantly go. But once you're aware that you're thinking, well, who's that? That's who I want to get to know.
Right.
I don't know that. I don't think I know that person yet. That's who I think really. Well, I don't want to say Adam because that's just
What title?
what this language has given me as a name that someone else picked for me. But yeah, I don't want to go down that route too much. I think I could
The
go
first
down that route.
man.
I've been down that road.
Right, but who's the one being aware? And I did that meditation where we send compassion out to others, and I just started crying. And I've done another one and it was a group setting. I did another one in a group setting. I don't know if it's feeling other people who are also aware and radiating that, and if that is literal energy that you feel when you become aware. I think it is. The more I experience it, I think that I believe that to be true. So I'm going towards it.
I feel like I'm.
Maybe you have faith in that because
I
you know it to be true.
Right. So I think belief is something I know to be true, and I think faith is trust it will happen, basically. And
I think I'm the most aware when I'm driving on the interstate. And I don't know if maybe it's because I have to see the billboards and the people
I should let
passing.
you just drive me around. I do not like that.
But I just always am thinking, and I always have ever since I was younger, is there's all these other people, and they all feel the same way I do, and are have their own thought processes in their heads. Like all of us
Well, they're seeing the
have
same
this
things you do.
projection, and that's always amazed me. And for some reason, when I'm on the interstate, I always think,
What do you mean? Everyone has this projection.
like I'm in there. I have this. This is all me.
Your body,
and
right,
you
okay.
have the same situation going on.
Well, mine's a little different.
Well, but I have this ability. I have these feelings, and this is all happening to or at or
They're
with
alive,
me,
and they're alive with you.
which means we're all in the same boat,
Right.
having the same processes.
We're in it together.
It's amazing. I'm like, why this? Why this situation? Why was I placed this way?
And were you? I mean, I don't know. I don't think anyone
Why are
knows.
we-
I don't think
Keep
anyone
coming
has
up
the
with
knowledge.
questions.
I think people have
It's just amazing. It has always amazed me
the feeling. What they
That-
feel is
that I know that I'm in there.
what's the I? What's the
So
you?
whatever this is,
That's what I want to know. What am I?
I'm
Who am
making
I?
this happen.
And it's the person behind the waterfall of thoughts.
I
That's
think
who am.
inevitably that's limitless, so it can't be completely defined.
Well,
My son
I'm
keeps
trying
asking
to
me,
figure it out.
But I think by looking at that is the best path towards expanding your mind.
Looking at what?
Trying to find the inner you, or experience it.
The true, or even what you is, or I, or what, it's
Beyond conditioning,
beyond all that.
Beyond attachment to things or judgment or identification or,
There's something.
being so open-minded that, you have love and compassion for others and for yourself, and just, feel more, and think less.
It's crazy because the more you go towards that, at least I've found, you can't describe it, intellectualize it, or explain it. It's not a. You feel it, but it's not a feeling. It's a state of being,
right?
and that sounds so abstract and hokey pokey.
It's like when you join the gym and they say, this is a lifestyle. And you're like, oh, maybe for you.
I don't say that. I'm joined because I have to change my lifestyle. Maybe that's why you don't last at the gym.
I don't go to the gym.
Maybe for you.
I don't.
This is not for me. I'm out of here.
So maybe we could sum things up by defining the things that limit our mind as being, what we said, repeating patterns, being closed-minded,
Fear.
Failure.
Yeah. Fear, failure.
In some cases, education could be limiting yourself. Just to
I think it goes back to
thoughts.
what limits the mind. We ourselves.
Perspective.
Like, I limit my own mind if I allow it to. Like, fear doesn't limit me because I can use fear to grow.
Using your mind to know that you can't just believe your perspective. There's other perspectives out there.
There's so much to experience and so much to learn. I mean, what a bore to not embrace that. One opportunity to live, one opportunity to experience this that we know of. I mean, with all the evidence at hand.
Right.
Maybe
This is
there's
your life.
reincarnation, maybe there's heaven, maybe there's whatever. But at this point in time, with everything I know, this is it. I hope there's more. I wouldn't mind being a cockroach if I had the opportunity. Well, why not?
But if there is
I'd rather
more,
not.
you would be able to recognize it, because if there is more, there was more. And we don't have, either we don't have the recollection of it, or we have dreams and
Or
memories
this is
that are
heaven
being...
or hell, and it's just based off your choices.
Your perception.
Yeah, and your perception. This could be...
So why not make
We
it?
could be. Like, I saw a meme not too long ago, and it says, "What happened? Well, what if when you die they ask, how was heaven?"
Yeah.
But we don't know what reality, what realities exist. Now, like I said, now with the possibility of an infinite number of universes with different laws that define them, but connecting to. And that goes in the opposite direction from cells to atoms, and so I think it's infinite that way and infinite the other way, the layers of existence. And it's
that's
all
scary to
connected.
think about.
It is. But I at least through all the information in hand know it's connected. And if it's connected, I want to connect to it.
Right.
So how do you prevent yourself from being limited? More connection.
I think thinking about things literally and breaking things down to literal levels, especially for children, is really important so that they realize that the brain is limitless. So, for example, I don't tell my son he's eating a hamburger. I tell him he's eating a cat, because that's what it is. It's literal. And by providing literal
You feed your son
examples,
hamburgers?
if I ever did, oh gosh, no.
I thought I caught you.
If by providing literal examples and just speaking literally and questioning things literally, it really expands the mind.
And being honest, and questioning what's in front of you. And questioning your questions. And then you can come over to my house and have endless conversations with no answers. Laura and I enjoy that. Frank and I enjoy that. We all do. This has been fun.
Absolutely. I want to thank Adam and Lauren for this discussion.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
It was enlightening. I think I've expanded my mind a bit.
Yeah.
I feel it. I certainly do. I feel all of it.
I can't wait to go to work tomorrow. Unload.
I was going to join you,
are
maybe.
gonna
That'd be
join me?
nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
So long.
Thank you for listening. For more Being Human, go to facebook.com/beinghumanpodcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or find all our recordings on SoundCloud.